Welcome to the stream. As you can see by what's on the screen, I gotta show you a little something, some little stuff, some things. As you know, I start off with a dab, so we're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna jump into all the things I want to talk about. And then I was gonna play. Let's see, I'm gonna do a dab, and then we'll listen to this. All right. So this is very important information I'm laying down, bro. Right here. Like, this is probably like the most important information I've ever laid down with showing evidence. So I'm going to use this video as evidence to explain what I've been explaining with no evidence, because I communicate that I don't need that. Hey, greetings from Manchester, England, brothers. Hey, what's happening, Virgil? I appreciate you coming on the stream, bro. So look, I play video games and I talk about truths that people don't want to talk about. Okay, I talk about things that most people don't want to hear. All right, so I'm just giving you fair warning. You're new, you know what I'm saying? I'm just cluing you in. I'm starting off with this video because I found this video today and I thought it was very interesting. And based on what the information is saying, I felt the need to react to it and explain in further detail and clarity. And then it's on to The Fallen Witch and Path of Exile 2, where I'm attempting to get to the end game and top 50 in the leaderboard on that game in the most hardest mode the game has, which is hardcore and solo self-bound. First, I always do a dab. Manchester, do you guys got weed in Manchester? I wonder, do you? That's interesting. Right, I don't know, bro. You guys have been going to jail for fucking saying shit on the internet, bro. So I don't know if you can even smoke weed, huh? You guys can smoke weed, right? That's weird, right? If you guys can smoke weed, but you can't like post certain things on the internet, bro, that's crazy times. You see what I'm saying? We getting crazy moment. Like super crazy moments right now. Like, the world is currently imploding and exploding simultaneously. Well, the false reality, systemic mental apparatus everyone is stuck in, that is collapsing, right? And see, I'm going to show evidence and proof to what I talk about, what I just said, all right? So here we go. Let's take a listen.
One of the caveats that I do have some personal information that I did get personally involved in was some information.
Listen to that personally. See, like, look, I know everything I know based on personal experiences that I've actually had with other people and with this place, okay? I don't go off of opinion. I go off of personal experiences based on scientific method, right? So that's how I've come to the conclusions I've come to, right? Just like this guy is saying, personal experience, right?
That had to do with the Stargates and Looking Glass, and more specifically,
I don't remember if he explains the Looking Glass, but the Looking Glass is a project that the United States government did a while back and basically allowed them to see the future. Okay, it's not a joke. It's highly well documented documents on this thing. Like, you can go to probably WikiLeaks probably has it, or what else might have this? Like, I don't know, really, I would say WikiLeaks. You go to WikiLeaks and find all the information about this.
The 2012 problem with those projects. The popular opinion of what's out there right now is that the project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012.
Wait for it. See? Problem.
I've heard it described a number of ways, but to my knowledge, the problem is that the timelines converge on that point.
Pay attention right here.
In time. And when you know enough about the Stargate projects and the Looking Glass project to know how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works.
I love actually how he says that. String theory and how the possibilities of possibilities work. I really like, it's very well said right there, that sentence alone, right? So look, when he's talking about Stargates and the Looking Glass, right? And he's talking about in 20, like, they looked at all the timelines, bro. They looked at a lot of different possibilities of possibilities, right? And they found In 2012, all those possibilities shrink into one possible outcome, right? And I will explain why that's important to what I'm talking about here in a minute.
And how making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean that the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually...
So you get what that means, right? Less consequential to the future. Meaning, regardless of where you go and what you do and the choices you make, the things I'm talking about is going to happen to you.
We were pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make. And that's important to the people that had access to Looking Glass because they would use Looking Glass knowing the choices that they would make and the future would pop up.
See what I'm saying? They were, dude, there's so much stuff that let's just say there's 8 billion people. I would say there's less than 10 million people, maybe like, I don't know, maybe like 20 or 30 million people maybe that have a semi-decent concept. I mean, like everyone has the angle that one has coming from that angle and helping it merge into that one angle. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's the truth that goes for everyone. Do you see what I mean? Like I have my angle, other people have their angles. Do you see what I'm saying? And so it's all converging, right? And look, hold on, let me finish the video and then I'll further explain.
The big mistake was coming up with the possibility of future. And when we started using a computer to say, well, if we make this choice, it's 79% possible that this scenario happens, and 23% are possible or whatever, some round numbers, that this scenario would happen.
Right, so basically what he's saying is they were able to calculate possibilities of future outcomes down to the percent of possibility, right? And that gives them absolute magnificent control, bro. Right.
The understanding at the time was that was realistic. However, if you go down the road further and free will continues to exercise itself on this game, that 79% possibility sometimes changes very, very fast. But if you look at the situation in a point of time, it seems very realistic that that's the greatest possibility. What happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up.
And it did. And it's happened already. That's why I speak with impunity when I say I'm speaking about the truth that goes for everyone.
Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the Looking Glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision, no possibility changed past a certain point. That's the big secret. All possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history in the future. That is what sends everybody that has all of the information, that knows everything, into a blind panic. The people that know everything about Looking Glass, that have gotten all the reports and all the information, the elites of the world, probably figured out that that was the end of the game. And
do you hear what he said? The end of the game.
nothing could be manipulated beyond that point.
Did you hear what he said? Nothing could be manipulated up beyond that point.
When I was in the military, it would have been before 97 when I got in trouble. One of my particular areas that I was amazingly intuitive about is problem solving / mission planning, or more specifically, taking a bad mission and fixing it. Certainly knowing how string theory and possible futures works makes it so you can work your mind very quickly to see the reality of what's happening and decide what decisions need to be made to change it for a particular outcome.
Right, and which is that's not a good word to use. Actually, I don't know if that's a good word either yet. Anyhow, that is what one is doing. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm a cell. Think of it this way, right? If Andrew Tate, right, is like a full-fledged human, he's elite, he's rich and powerful and strong and whatever, right? I'm a cell, bro, in that hierarchy, bro. Like, I'm a cell. I'm a nothing. I'm invisible, practically, to everyone. Unless you know how to see. Cells. Right? And I'm poking here, and poke there, I poke there, and I poke here, and I poke there. So I'm saying the false mental system of reality, duality, has comprehend all throughout history. There are pockets of where the system has needed to fully reset us, and then there's been portions where they just do how would you say, a hot fix. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's been going on for a very long moment now.
At a certain point, after they're done hearing the computer tell them this is what's going to happen over and over and over and over again, all they become focused on is, how do we fix it? What I do know is that I was...
Comprehend when he says how they want to fix it, it's because they need all this division, possibility outcomes to keep you in division, chaos through order. See what I mean? So it's kind of how it works. On like a grand scale, small scale, micro scale, it's comprehend. It's conducively happening on a cellular biological level. That's what I'm saying. Like, the brainwashing isn't just something you can be like, oh, it's not happening to me. Like, you because of this information, like, you comprehend what I'm telling you about language manipulation and this operation to be able to see into the future and see how all timelines collapse into one timeline. Okay. And when they say, when he talks about all the timelines are collapsing into one, and they're like, oh my God, how do we fix this? The reason why they're freaking out is because, look, I'll give you the best example. If I have the truth already inside of me, right, that goes for everyone, and you have the truth inside of you, that already goes for everyone, and that truth has to be the same truth, and it has to be in the same in everyone, that's one timeline. That's one constant. Out of every possibility, that's one constant, right? And so that is why the system is already dead and it's attempting to stay alive, but it can't. That's why everything is getting more bland and more layered into monotony and not being able to be like, it's not different. It's the same. It's just a bunch of the same shit. Like, it's old. Everything they're producing is old, and they're trying to make it new, but they can't make it new because they can't make anything new because there is no new timelines for it to make anything new. It's going to crash and burn. The truth shall be. The truth that goes for everyone shall be. That's what it shall be. Like, I breathe the same thing you breathe. It, like, in that one statement, I let everyone know that there's truth that can exist, that absolutely must go for everyone to exist.
Called in and asked to solve this problem, this timeline contraction problem. And I eventually did my due diligence and did all the investigating and basically only had one piece of information, and that was reinforcement. The computer's right. The timelines will contract down to some inevitable thing. There is an inevitable event. It's been forecast,
it's called singularity.
It's been predicted, it's been fed to us in a slop trough of what they want us to believe will happen. They don't actually have control over what happens. They only have control over the reaction, and it seems that no matter what they try to do to cause their desired reaction, it's going to have an opposite effect. Much, much easier for me to explain today what that process is as opposed to back then. If I had to give it a name, I would say it's the awakening process. It's an evolution of consciousness that
some
cannot,
of us
will not, and no matter what decisions or possibilities are injected into the equation, eventually it all resolves down to us all learning the truth and becoming aware of this massive dam of lies that has been built that keep us from knowing massive volume of information we should otherwise possess. It's essentially what happened with Looking Glass. Not only did they not want people to use it anymore because they knew it was just going to burp out the same thing, but at the same time, they didn't want anybody else to know what it was saying. Sure. Because that information was of a monumental concern when I was in the military about how to prevent this inevitability. Now, at first, I thought it was end of the world. Now I see end of the world as end of their world.
Did you hear that? Not the end of the world, end of the false world.
The biggest cherry on top of all this conversation would be a synopsis to say that if I could convince everybody out there that for all intents and purposes, what we believe to be true eventually becomes true. If somebody convinces us that a major disaster is going to happen in the very near future, a major disaster happens in the very near future.
That is because you are co-creating, you're not just a part, you're not just an observer, you're actively simultaneously a participant and observer simultaneously. It's a paradox that you haven't been able to wrap your heads around because you haven't got the proper information to even be able to conceptualize the possibility. Yet, that's because you do not comprehend the possibility of possibilities.
If we don't buy into that fear and accept that there's really nothing that we know is going to happen, and accept of whatever happens, that makes the convergence of the timelines happen as naturally as possible. Any attempts to try to go away from this one inevitable conclusion, I again see as a new beginning, an end of this reality, the beginning of something that we can't even possibly understand based on the level of our beliefs currently. But when all that information comes flooding out, there's going to be no denying what's true and what's a lie or what's illusion. Basically, what we're experiencing right now is two master chess players sitting at the board. And one of them looks down at the board and sees that he's in checkmate in 7 moves.
Pay attention to this a lot.
And he looks across at his opponent, and he knows that his opponent sees it too. So there's no getting out of it. So at this point, the loser can only prolong the game.
And that's what you're seeing here. Comprehend, it has been 13 years since 2012. Notice how every year since 2012, exponentially, time has felt like it's speeding up. people are like, some people are in the system still. Do you see what I'm saying? And they're using that as a moniker to be like, we're in the end times and da-da-da-da-da-da. They're in the system. That's why they think they're in the end times, and all these people are gonna, all this crazy stuff is gonna happen, and that's why the system makes it look like all this crazy stuff is gonna happen. Only thing that can happen to you is what you allow it to happen to you. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're manifesting the thing that's happening to you, whatever that thing is. It doesn't matter if it's based on false information or if it's based on the truth that goes for everyone. The system and the reality are equally in illusions. Like, one is a dysfunctional delusion, psychosis. The other one is reality, an illusional paradox that's all simultaneously happening. All that is simultaneously happening. Because we're in multiple, look, dude, there's people that still have never seen technology. Ever. And then there's people that only know technology. They know nothing else. So you see what I'm saying? So there's a whole bunch of different timelines happening right now.
Both players know the game is over. It's only a matter of time before he does this, and then you're forced to do this, and then he's forced to do this, and eventually checkmate. We, as a race, if we could understand that the game is over, that based on the rules of the game, the bad guys have already lost, the good guys have already won.
2012.
Yes, there's moves left on the table, but those moves are being forced by the player that is going to win. The only way that checkmate can't happen is if the player that's winning makes a mistake.
Right. So the only way that the system can stop me from telling you about the system of mental control, false reality, duality, is if it killed me. I will never kill myself, and I don't do anything. I go do my job that is exceptionally easy at this point and no risk of being injured or damaged permanently. And then I do this. I don't leave my house unless I need food or weed. You see what I'm saying? I don't really leave. I consume information. Practically any moment that I'm awake, I'm consuming some form of information to help me figure out how better to explain the truth that must be for everyone. Look at this. You guys come in, bro. I explain what I'm doing.
But from all of the information that I've gathered, all of the information that's been given,
I appreciate Virgil. That's about it. Everybody else, I don't know about you guys.
It seems pretty obvious that the good guy player on the side of the chessboard knows exactly what has to be done to win the game.
Right. Absolutely. And that's why everything I'm doing is ramping up. And comprehend, in 3 years, I'm going to be able to ramp up in a degree that actually gets me a foothold in the internet. Comprehend, most content creators, 95% or more, do not even make it past the 3-year mark. I don't even know what year this is, because technically I started like long ago, but my life blew up right when I was about to really start doing this. And that was my final lesson. And that's why I am not making any more mistakes. Because I know how to get it done. There's only one way you are allowed to come into my atmosphere. And that's absolutely, you need to prove that you will not hinder my ability to speak freely about anything I speak about.
And so at this point, any mistake would be all but impossible. But again, you really have to understand the game to know that the guy that's losing is
CBD
lost.
chapstick, bro.
And I'm sure most people sitting watching a chess match between two advanced chess players know the game's over long after the two players know it's over.
Right. Do you see what he said right there? The people watching the game don't know it's over until practically there's a checkmate or a near checkmate. Whereas both players knew it was over multiple moves before the people watching knew. And see, this is me bringing you from the people watching to the people playing, so you can see through their lenses and therefore also see the truth that must be for everyone.
Because they can't see the board and see that there's only 7 moves left.